Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting to order for the Brawley City Council and successor agency to the Brawley Community Redevelopment Agency. Regular meeting for Tuesday, September 4th at 6 p.m. Welcome back, everyone. It's good to see you all. If we can have the roll call, please.
The minutes will reflect all council members present.
Okay, thank you. Next, if you can please rise for invocation by Father Ed Horning of the Catholic Communities of Brawley and Westmoreland. Father Ed.
Paul wrote to Timothy, encouraging all of the faithful to offer prayers, supplications, and petitions and thanksgivings for everyone, including kings and authority, that we may live a quiet and tranquil life. And so I invite all here present and council members that we pray to God on behalf of one another. Lord, we thank you for through you we have life, we have our breath and our existence. On behalf of all gathered here and those of our city, we give you thanks. We give you thanks for the ability to be involved in work, for bearing responsibility, for freedom. Pray to you on behalf of our mayor, our city council members, officials, peace officers, all staff, those who work for the city and those who live in the city. Grant that we may have wisdom. Grant that we might work for the common good, work for peace, justice, and right. Confidence in what is good, fitting, and true. I pray for holy wisdom and your blessing to be on all the members and the agenda for this evening. Please give an assurance of what would be pleasing to you and would benefit all those who live and work in this city. I ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Father Ed. Our Pledge of Allegiance, led by Valerie Smith. If you could please...
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all very much. You arrived just in time for that Pledge of Allegiance. Perfect time, right? There you go. All right, the next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as written?
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, there's a second. And I think, Luke, were you a little faster on that one? I think you were quicker on the draw. Yeah. So there's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is item 2, public appearances and comments not to exceed 4 minutes. This is a time for the public to address the council on any item not appearing on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city council. The mayor will recognize you when you come to the microphone. Please state your name for the record. You are not allowed to make personal attacks on individuals or make comments which are slanderous or which may invade an individual's personal privacy. Please direct your questions and comments to the city council. Is there anyone here who would like to make a public comment?
Mr. Mayor, Tim Kelly, 1041 Calle Estrella. I just want to make a quick announcement pertaining to IVDC, Pearl Valley Economic Development Corporation. I'd like to introduce Tan Gao. Tan Gao is a intern with IVDC. He's from Salton City, China, and he's been with us for about 4 weeks. He's got about 2 weeks left of his internship here. He'll be finishing his last semester at Brigham Young University, and we'll be heading out after that for a job here in the United States for a year before he returns home. He's really helped us develop relationships with some businesses that are in China through family friends and friends that we've worked with in the past. And it's an example of the internship program that we've been running at IVDC over the last few years. So I want to thank Tan. I just want to introduce him to the community. A lot of you have probably seen him at different locations. And he's learning a lot here in the city of Brawley and around the Imperial Valley. So thank you very much.
Thank you for the comment.
Thank
Mr. Kelly, did you say Salton City, China?
Well, that's not the direct translation, but
As close as we'll get. That's as close as we're going to get.
it's a city of salt.
There we go.
How do you pronounce the city, Tan? Yenshin.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's exactly it, right? All right, thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to make a public appearance or has a comment here on any item not appearing on the agenda? Marja?
Happy September.
Thank you.
September?
I'm here on behalf of the Friends of the Brawley Public Library. We're endeavoring to become a 501(c), which will help our organization get more grants and lots of good funding and things like that as a partner with the library. And they're having an organizational meeting for the transitional process that requires things like a temporary board, bylaws, all those kinds of things that are needed. It'll be this Thursday evening in the library at 6 o'clock. And we want to invite every member of the public who enjoys the library or enjoyed it when they were younger or looks forward to enjoying it when they're older. Anybody who supports the library, we'd look forward to having everybody there.
Thank you very much.
Say that,
Thank you.
what time again?
6 o'clock on Thursday the 6th
At the library.
at the library.
Okay.
If it's a small group, we'll be in the meeting little room. If it's a big group, we'll just move to the Rotary room.
Very well, thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to make a public comment? There is.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So I live here in Brawley, and I'm a resident who just happens to not be able to drive because of my eyesight. And so I've called the city several times asking for upgrades to our roads and traffic ways, because I understand there's a misconception that the only people that walked are miscreants and criminals. And I would just kind of like you to know that that's not true. There's a lot of us who walk because, well, in my case, because I have to, but I see teenagers walking with me at the same time every morning. We cross Main Street, for example, and Main Street has no proper crosswalks. So, for example, you may know that it's in the middle of the street, but the National Safety Council recommends that all crosswalks be placed on the corner. And so I'd like to see that either updated, upgraded, or simply painted would be like a good start, at least for the beginning of each school year. So I do understand we do it during cattle call, but cattle call is in November, and so those of us who walk every morning do it all year long. So I'd kind of like you to consider that when you are deciding how to properly spend money for the residents of Brawley. And also, so I kind of, with that going hand in hand is not crosswalks, but sidewalks. So if you have ever walked anywhere in Brawley, you know that we don't have them. So it's impossible to get from the north side of Brawley to the hospital or to Walmart, for example. There are no sidewalks. And so I know I've done it. I've traveled across places trying to get there. And so I would like you to, if you are thinking about putting this kind of an action item on the agenda, I would like you to remember those of us that may not be here all the time, such as the teenagers in the city, and such as people like me, so that you know that we actually care where those crosswalks go. So I've spoken to people, like I said, and just to name the Main Street, but there's not one single crosswalk going across Jones, all the way up that whole stretch, from the high school all the way down to, I can't even think of the name, Jones to the high school. So I think that's something that needs to be considered, possibly for Meg.
What was
Thank
your
you for
name,
coming.
ma'am?
Your
My name is Deborah Schoneman. The last name is Schoneman.
And your address?
At 1173 Cedar Court.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, could I just make a comment
Sure.
for staff? Just on, and obviously this is public comment, but I was already thinking myself, we can maybe do a revisit. I know we also have a new council member, but to our pedestrian plan that was in place, I think, a few years ago that we updated or had done. And there's maybe some considerations in there. Not so much that just crosswalks, but really just looking at overall our layout and maybe just get a little more background. So I think that'd be a good document to revisit if we can.
I believe you're referring to the ADA transition plan?
Is it, I thought there was a bike and pedestrian plan, and that's the
We have a
ADA
non-motorized
That's what I'm
transportation
getting at,
plan,
yes,
maybe? Okay.
yes.
Non-motorized.
Yeah.
Okay.
We
But
bring
that
back
includes
to-
pedestrian,
Yes.
correct? Okay. And I do want to put out, I've actually been doing a lot of walking, running, and biking around town, so I'm actually pretty aware as a council member as well, and pretty much been endeavoring in that every morning, so I hear you.
Very well. Thank you for the comment. Is there anyone else who'd like to make a public comment? Seeing none, we're going to move on. And we'll move on to item 2A, introduction of Brawley Police Officer Isaac Romo, Communications Dispatcher Cynthia Valenzuela, and Denise Montano by Police Chief Robert Sawyer. Chief Sawyer.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. It's my distinct pleasure to come before you tonight and introduce 3 new members of our Brawley family. We've had some times of shortage, as you're all aware of it, in the past, and we're working in conjunction with Shirley Benitez and her wonderful efforts she's made to get full staff in our communication center, which has just been really strained in the past. So it's my pleasure to say, as of tonight, all of our full-time positions have been filled. So I will start by introducing our most senior dispatcher. Cynthia Valenzuela has been with us as a temporary and full-time employee in the past. She's born and raised here in Brawley, graduated from Brawley Union High School, and she's returned to us after just having completed a part-time assignment in dispatch. So Cynthia is a great addition to our family because she has the skills and experience to be able to kind of hit the ground running with very little training necessary at the present time. So I'll introduce Cynthia Valenzuela to you.
Just want to say thank you, council members, for allowing us to take a second to introduce ourselves. Greatly appreciative to be up here to you guys to present myself, and look forward to seeing you guys more and getting to know all of you guys, including all of you guys in the crowd. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
And her phone number is 911.
Next, we have Denise Montano. Denise is born here in California, raised part-time in California, then moved out to Texas, and has recently rejoined us out here on the West Coast. She actually is a pastry chef by trade, so she has quite a bit of tasty training. She's also unique in the fact that as she pursued her career in communication and police dispatching and fire dispatching, she actually put herself through the academy. So that showed quite a bit of initiative, and we are very lucky to have her with us here tonight. Denise?
Hello. I just wanted to say that I'm very thankful for the opportunity to provide services to this community and to become part of a family within this department.
Fantastic. Welcome aboard.
Yeah, congratulations.
And last but certainly not least, we have Isaac Romo. Isaac was born in Mexicali, Mexico. He came over here as a young child and was raised in Heber, California. He's a graduate of Southwest High School and then attended the Imperial Valley College through the Reserve and Modular Police Academy. So he's graduated, and he's now been with us about a little over a week. Spent a lot of time watching some training videos and everything else, and he's got caught up, and he's actually out on the street now, and we're very pleased to have Isaac Romo here.
Hello. I just wanted to say thanks a lot for this great opportunity of working with the City of Brawley, and I'm really excited I'm looking forward to working with every one of you.
All right,
Thank you very
fantastic.
much.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome.
Well, thank you all very much, and congratulations on your new roles and some returning roles. We welcome you to the city of Brawley, and thank you again, Chief, for the introductions. Great job, and again, congratulations on your new assignments, and I know you're all going to do well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Next
you,
up-
Father.
Yeah, thank you.
Father Ed, there we go. Thank you. All
Trying
right.
to sneak.
Next item on the agenda is item 2B, proclamation declaring the month of September 2018 as Attendance Awareness Month, presented to Yolanda C. Barboza, SARB officer for Brawley Elementary School District. There's backup material on page 5, and there's the proclamation. So I'm going to read it out. All right, so this is a proclamation designating September 2018 Attendance Awareness Month. Whereas good attendance is essential to student achievement and graduation, and the community is committed to reducing chronic absenteeism with a focus starting as early as kindergarten. And whereas chronic absence, missing just 2 days of school a month for any reason, is a proven predictor of academic trouble and dropout rates, lower third grade reading proficiency, course failure, and eventual dropout, which weakens our communities and our local economy. Whereas chronic absence has an especially negative impact on low-income students when resources are unavailable to make up for the lost class time. Whereas chronic absence can be significantly reduced when schools, families, and communities work together to reach out to students, promote good attendance, and address hurdles that keep children from getting to school. Now therefore, I, George A. Nava, Mayor of the City of Brawley, do hereby proclaim the month of September 2018 as Attendance Awareness Month, the City of Brawley. I invite all citizens in the community to celebrate the education of our future leaders. So, congratulations to you. We just have a signed proclamation for you. So, thank you very much for being here, and we certainly appreciate it. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yes, I do.
Oh, please. Please do. Congratulations.
Okay, my name is Yolanda Carrillo Barbosa. I'm the Student Attendance Review Board Officer for Brawley Middle School District. I am accompanied today by Mr. Luis Panduro, who is our Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum Instruction. I also am accompanied by Angelica Varga and Candy Arguelles, who are our child welfare and attendance specialists for our school district. So we're here very excited on behalf of the Brawley Elementary School District, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. I would like to thank you for proclaiming the month of September as September Attendance Awareness Month. And today is actually the official first day for this wonderful event. This is actually a national school event that's taking place nationally, statewide, and locally. It was started by the program Attendance Works. This program started attendance awareness towards the importance of school attendance for children. And this was to make sure that they attend school and increase their academic progress in schools. The Brawley Elementary School District is celebrating September Attendance Awareness Month with events such as Back to School Night for this month of September. We are inviting the parents and students for the new 2018-2019 school year. The Brawley School District is committed to continue to provide a quality education for all the students. Our school district understands the more students attend school every day, the more the students' lives will be enriched with endless future possibilities. Today, you are actually making history for being the first city council in the Imperial County to join the school district, our school district, in promoting the importance of school attendance. The Brawley School District hopes to establish a partnership with you, with the City of Brawley, and have the September Attendance Awareness Month proclamation to become an annual event for the City of Brawley. Again, thank you, City Council members, City Mayor, for joining the Brawley School District in supporting this nationwide event. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for bringing it to our attention.
Thank you. I did bring some flyers, and I'm going to just share with you and just provide some more information regarding the school attendance.
Well, again, thank you.
Thank you.
There's definitely a correlation between attendance and success there. So I'm glad to see that there's a focus on it. Fantastic. I'm glad that we could be a part of it.
Thank you. Thank you. Very nice to meet you.
Thank you again. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Nice to see you.
Well, again, thank you very much, and great information. I'm hoping that we can share it as well,
Success.
and we'll get the information out there for the public. Thank you again. All right, so the next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Items are approved by one motion. Council members or members of the public may request consent items be considered separately at a time determined by the mayor. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as written?
So moved.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is regular business. We'll start with 4A, discussion potential action regarding co-sponsorship of mobile Mexican consulate event on Saturday, September 29th, 2018, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at Main Branch Library. Backup materials page is on pages 66 through 68. And Marcia Mello will be presenting that.
Thank you. Last spring, February or March, we had the same event for the mobile console visiting the library. It was very successful. We got a lot of brand-new library cards out of the mix. I got to practice my Spanish a little bit, okay? And previously it had been at Del Rio, and it seemed to work out really well at the main library because it is in the center of town. It's across from the transit center. And what we're asking for tonight is to have any insurance requirements waived, and if the city decides to co-sponsor the event, then that saves some money for the consul office. It worked really well. We had IT hook us up the Friday before and all day Saturday, and it was very busy and very successful event. So we'd like to see if you would like to co-sponsor again.
Very well. Well, thank you very much. And I know we've done this in the past. Is there any consideration by the city council members on this topic?
Well, I personally, I think it's a great opportunity for us to be able to assist all these folks out there that need help from the consulate's office, and I think that it's a good use of our facilities to make it available to the consulate.
Sure. And for our residents that need the services there.
Yes,
So.
exactly.
Any other
I agree.
comments? All right, is there a motion?
I make a motion that we co-sponsor the Mobile Mexican Consulate event on Saturday, September the 29th, 2018, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the main branch library.
All right, is there a second on that?
I'll second.
There's a second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is regular business. 4B, discussion potential action regarding resolution of the City Council of the City of Brawley, California, adopting the memorandum of understanding for use of the Teen Center facility from September 17th, 2018 through June 30th, 2019 by the Boys and Girls Club of Imperial Valley. The backup material is on pages 69 through 76. And that will be presented by Marja Mello as well.
Yes, with my other half.
All right.
Okay. Actually, with my leaf, this is as close as I could find was leaves. Anyway, we are really excited because the Brawley Boys and Girls Club, which has a longer name, but that's what it's been called for 30-something years, is interested in reaching out to some of our teen residents to enhance services, which will help them, and hopefully they'll be more productive citizens in the future, et cetera. The actual cost to the city would be absorbed because the activities that they want to do are during times when staff is already available to open and close the building. So other than a little electricity because the light's on in the room, there aren't really any extra cost to the city, and I'd really like them to talk about the kinds of things that they're going to be offering to the teens. With your permission.
Certainly. Let's hear from them.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I am Misty Lee, the Executive Director for the Boys and Girls Clubs of Imperial Valley, which is our official name at this point. Even though we've been called the Boys Club, the Brawley Boys and Girls Club, we respond to all of it.
And you take donations in all of those.
Yeah, and all of that.
Sure. But I appreciate the opportunity to come to you this evening to discuss what we have in mind. First, I'd like to introduce my teen coordinator, Mr. Jonathan Hurtado. He is a substitute teacher, so that's the experience he brings. And then also Jacob Rodriguez is one of our teen specialists, and he's the fun one, so he really does a great job relating with the kids. Not that Jonathan's not fun, but they're a really good team of business and really connecting with the kids. What we're hoping to achieve, as a lot of you know, we've been really reaching out to teens. We've been trying to increase our impact with the teens. It's something we've been working on for quite a while. So one of the challenges we face with the teenagers is they don't want to hang out in the space that we have currently because there's younger kids there. Mm-hmm. They want a place that they can call their own. So going back to the original intent of the building with the teen center, we're wanting to get back in there, use the big room. I don't know what it's called, but it's where the seniors are now, where they were staying for a while. And we're wanting to make that more of a games room. So we've partnered with Aaron's, they're a national partner of the Boys and Girls Club, to get some furniture, TVs, PlayStations. That's going to be the fun part. So we're going to try to get them there with some fun. Then we also, one of the bigger programs we're going to be doing is Power Hour, which provides computers for the kids to do their homework. We're also going to be partnering with ICOE with their BorderLink project to get free Wi-Fi. So, 1 in 3 youth don't have access to Wi-Fi at home. So that's a need that we will be addressing. And another program we'll be doing is called Youth of the Year. We'll be doing a Youth of the Month, but the overall program is Youth of the Year. And it's a recognition program for the extraordinary achievements these kids make, and then also gives them the opportunity to compete at a national level, and they can win up to $100,000 in college scholarships. Excuse me. So that's one of the things that we'll be starting off with if the MOU gets approved, kind of slowly, and then we're going to get to know the kids and figure out what types of things they're interested in, because we have a ton of other different programs through the Boys and Girls Club of America. So that's what we're really hoping to start off with.
Fantastic. Well, we appreciate the information. Is there any?
And I do need to clarify the room that you're using. Sorry. Okay. It's the smaller room on the other side. The big room is used almost every night for different activities, including the great martial arts classes that are held. This is on the west side of the building, and there's 2 rooms there, plus a separate office that will be used. But they've seen the space, and it should work, especially for a good start.
Fantastic.
I just want to let you know it's a different room.
Okay. Well, thanks for the clarification. We appreciate that. Is there any comments from council, questions from council?
Well, my history with the city of Brawley, we were involved at the county level when that center was developed by IVROP and the city of Brawley and other players in Imperial Valley. And when that became a teen center originally through a federal, and I think maybe some state money, but certainly a federal grant, develop a teen center. I'm happy to see that we're going to make an effort to return that to some teen activities. And I think the Brawley Boys and Girls Club do a good job down here. And I think that'll be great for the teenagers of this town. And it also gives them some activities to do after school and an ability to get their homework done. I know they come to the library a lot,
Yes.
but it's also, this will give them another option. And so I think that's a good deal all the way around for everyone.
Good deal. All right. Any other comments?
I just wanted to find out, Misty, are you going to do some kind of promotional material to get the word out that the teen center will be available for this age group, or?
Yes, we actually already have a flyer. We
Okay.
already prepared it. We're just waiting on approval from the city to go ahead and start marketing it. We'll be doing a lot of word of mouth marketing, a lot of social media. We may take an ad out in the paper. We're not real sure exactly how all, we still have maybe a week or 2 to really figure that out if it's approved. But definitely, we're going to heavily recruit to try to get people. We're going to be going to all the schools, any opportunity that we have to meet with the schools to see the kids where they are. We'll be taking that.
And I'm really happy to hear that you're going to assist them with pursuing scholarships, because I
Right.
think that's a big need.
We need
for
a
the
lot of
kids.
that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Misty, just one more, just on the age. I know it's teen, so does that literally mean 13 through 18, or,
We're hoping-
17 and a half, or whatever?
Well, with our program, what we're
Yeah.
doing is hoping to reach some 12-year-olds as well, because
Okay.
currently we have some kids who were going to the teen center in the summer because, again, they just didn't really want to hang out with the younger kids, and they're really excited. And they say that you grow teens, so we take them from, our youngers and we bring them up. So we do have a handful of 12-year-olds and we are insured for that age group. So if that's
And
what we're
is there a
reaching for.
capacity limit? I'm sure there is, but let's say it just is successful as it can be. What is there a daily number on
Our
how many
ratio
participants?
is 1 staff to 25 kids at the maximum.
Okay.
So with our 2 staff on hand, we are looking to serve, that would be on a daily if they were coming at 50 people.
That's quite a bit. Okay,
So I'm not
thank
sure
you.
how your ability would-
Any other questions, comments?
Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Problem with that.
the city does currently staff the teen center with a teen center coordinator,
Right.
and we are open multiple evenings per week. The proposed program is Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, and at the request of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Imperial Valley, we are doing kind of a demonstration through the month of June. And depending on how that goes, we'll hopefully have great success in the joint programming opportunity and look at a future agreement that
9 hours a
works
week.
year-round.
Yeah, fantastic. 9 hours a
Very
week.
good.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
All right, so I'll make a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding between the Boys and Girls Club of Imperial Valley and the City of Brawley. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
There's a second. Any further discussion on this topic? Any questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Congratulations. Good luck.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Great.
All right.
Much success.
All right, so the next one,
Very good.
Okay.
Very nice.
look forward, thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
Next item on the agenda is discussion potential action regarding resolution of the City Council of the City of Brawley, California, adopting the memorandum of understanding for the use of the Brawley Senior Center from September 5th, 2018 to June 30th, 2020. And the backup material is on pages 77 through 81, and that, again, will be presented by Marjo.
And I qualify for this because I'm a senior.
Okay. Is that the, all right.
Yeah,
okay.
That's
so
right.
yeah, that's a good one.
That's a good one.
Okay.
All right.
We're also really excited about the fact that Imperial Valley College wishes to offer classes targeted to teens at their location to help with needs that they have. It will also be a program that's run during the regular operating hours of the senior center, which means the costs are very minimal for what we're doing. I don't know if anybody from IVC is here. Okay, cool. They're going to have some really neat nutrition classes, exercise type classes, and things that we seniors really enjoy. They're going to hopefully be there in the afternoons and offer some good stuff. I guess that's really a broad term.
Good stuff. That's
Good stuff. huh?
Good stuff.
It's a category in
That's a
itself.
technical term.
All right.
All right, I guess if I'm a senior, I should say groovy stuff, but,
Okay,
you know,
all right.
groovy
It's
stuff.
making a comeback. All right, we can use it.
And this will be between 8 and 5? I'm sorry.
Yes, it will be between 8 and 5.
Okay.
The goal is to have it mostly be in the afternoon because they do have their nutrition available, their lunchtime. That's available from 8 or 8:30 in the morning, and the food is served 11 o'clock. And then this will be like after 1 digestion, I guess, in the afternoon. And be conducted on, not the side where the food is actually served, but on the other smaller room that we have on the other side.
Very well. Any further comments?
Council may be interested in knowing that this opportunity first came to the city through Efrain Silva, council member of the city of El Centro, and also an IVC administrator. And he has approached several jurisdictions in the valley with this opportunity. You may have seen some of the other governing bodies in Imperial County taking action to do the same. This particular agreement spans a 2-year period. And similar to the prior agreement, as long as the activities occurring during normal staff hours, we do not charge, but any special activities outside of normal hours of operation, let's say a Saturday, Sunday evening, we would look to assess some fees and charges for that outside work.
Very well, thank you.
Very nice.
Is there a motion to approve this item?
I'll make,
Oh, go ahead. No, go
I'll
ahead.
make a motion to go ahead and approve the resolution and the MOU for the use of the Brawley Senior Center from September 2018 to June 30th, 2020.
Very well.
The IVC with Imperial Valley College.
Fantastic. There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank
Marjo.
you.
Thank
We're
you.
real excited about this new program.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's a good use of the facility, so that's
Yes.
fantastic,
Yes.
yeah. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is 4D, discussion potential action regarding Brawley Elks Lodge request for alcohol sales and consumption on a city street on Saturday, October 20th, 2018, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Backup materials on pages 82 to 86. And Marjo Mello is up here again. All right.
Marjorie.
Yes,
All right.
well,
In what capacity this time?
rib eater.
Rib eater, okay.
Rib
there you
eater,
go. There
okay,
you
rib
go.
eater.
Rib eater, all right.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to get really weird on some of these down here. Anyway, I'm sorry.
All right, well,
It's very self-explanatory. They want to have their second annual rib cook-off, and we actually have Elks members here available to also answer other questions. They have asked for a street closure for a specific part of the streets near the Elks Lodge, and that's been reviewed and approved by Public Works to get that done. In conjunction with selling alcohol, they're also asking for a waiver on the $500 charge for the street closure. That is the minimum charge that the city has had on the books for many years and pretty much hasn't charged, but since the end of last fiscal year and kind of discussing some of the things, I know that we've been seriously looking at some of the charges that we have for costs related to actually what it costs to do something. The paper that you have in your notes that talks about the cost of the street closure is actually a little underreported because we realized today that the per hour numbers are actually just straight time, not time and a half. And since the street closures, if it's done Friday night, it's after the hours that the regular staff's working, or if it's even Saturday morning, same thing, it's a weekend, and same thing with opening the street up at the end of the event is also overtime. So that's a little bit more than the 1,700 plus that was quoted in the backup. So I just want you to be aware of what we're doing with that. I'm personally looking forward to eating ribs. So that has nothing to do with this, but just letting you know. So, did you want to mention some things?
I know that they can
Okay.
Valerie Smith, the Brawley Elks Lodge, number 1420 treasurer for the 2018-2019 year. I feel like I'm running for something.
there you go.
No, but, yeah.
Or running from, huh?
Running from, probably. Anyway, I wanted to give you a little bit of background on this rib cook-off. It actually started as a district competition, so it was between the Southern District, which is Indio, Yucca Valley, Needles, Blythe, El Centro, and it became a little contest between all of us. And it started in Yucca Valley, and they then, because we won that year, it became Brawley's rib cook-off district level. And then Indio won, so now it's going to be in Indio, but on a different weekend. But we had so many people from the community that came up to us and said, we want to compete. We think this is a great idea for the downtown of Brawley. We want to compete with you guys. They even asked us, last year, and we said we can. It's just an Elks event. That's it. So then we got together and we all said, why aren't we doing this? Why isn't this here in Brawley? So just like supporting the Main Street events that Abe and I have done and Tim Kelly have done for years, this is one of those things that we said, we should have it here. So that's the reason why we said, well, let's do it. Let's do it on this weekend. We have it limited to 15 competitors. We have vendors that are going to be in the street. We have CVB that's also sponsoring the kids section, which is going to have decorating pumpkins like we did last year and games for the kids. So we're trying to make it a family event, but then also have like the Main Street events where there is alcohol consumption in the streets of Brawley, just to enhance the event a little bit more, because who doesn't want a rib with a beer?
There you
I mean,
go.
so we're just trying to carry on that theme. I know that Abe had some regards to the waiver of the $500 fee, minimum fee that you guys were asking for or requesting from us. And we just wanted to ask for the waiver since we are a nonprofit, and a lot of our things that we do for the community, we give back to the community, and I'll let Abe speak on that behalf.
Honorable Mayor, City Council members, we were talking about scholarships and youth earlier for the Boys and Girls Club within Pro Valley. And I know last year I was here for the same event when it was just a little section of the block on the side street. And we mentioned the Brawley the Brawley Elks Youth Building, which is in the corner of A Street and over by the football field on First. That was, and I recently became secretary at the Elks, so I got access to the safe where a lot of our documents are, and I found the what was it, the
The deed.
The deed when it was turned over to the city of Brawley. That was pretty cool to see that. That's you guys are welcome to look at that. That's pretty cool. And then recently I've been working with some other documents that the history of the Elks. 1927 was when we were incorporated. And just this year, different members are involved with different parts of the Elks. I'm in charge of the scholarships here locally and in the district level. This year, we're going to go 1.4 million, and then throughout the nation, not counting what the local lodges do on their own. It's about 500 four-year scholarships. So it's a lot of that we do, and it's just here and there, little by little, we do a lot. Sometimes we just take it for granted, that big old building that's, people don't even know, is it 2 stories, 3 stories, 4 stories? That building behind the library, we do a lot behind those walls, and I know most of you have visited us there, and some of you might be members there, and if you're not, we invite you to become members there. But yeah, we're a very big part of this community and proud to be. So actually, we were walking over here, and I was thinking just what Val mentioned, how we were involved with the Main Street program. Was it 1990 something? It's been a few years, and to see some of the familiar same people still behind these events, and we're very proud of this event. Just the feedback we had last year from the locals, and not just locals, people from around Pearl Valley that wanted to compete. We're going to be giving out $2,500 in prizes because of our sponsors, and we just want to be a big part of this, continue to be a big part of this community.
Well,
So
thank you.
Tim, did you want to?
Rubalcaba.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. All right. Well, I know we've traditionally supported nonprofit organizations by waiving the cost of placement of barricades and that sort of thing, and closing off the street. And we don't necessarily have like a Main Street Association, which we had in the past, and Main Street Events Committee, where we had multiple events. So this is a great way to get that blood flowing again, getting the band back together, so to speak, right? So that's a good thing. I like it. And in this case, I would like to make a motion to approve the request for alcohol sales and consumption on a city street, and of the waiver, of course. So I'll make the motion. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
There's a second. Any discussion or questions by council?
I would just like to say, Mr. Mayor, I feel like these are 2 separate issues, and I understand that they're all combined here, but I wish they were separate, because I am for the waiver of the road closure fees, but of course against the public alcohol sales and consumption. So.
Okay. Well, I can separate it. I can retract my motion and separate them if you'd like.
If that's possible.
Yeah, I'll retract my motion. Would you retract your second?
Yes.
All right. Well, I'll make a motion to approve the. We'll start with the request for the removal of the
Waiver.
the waiver, right, or the waiver of the deposit.
Yep.
We'll start with that. I'll make a motion to waive the deposit in this particular case. Is there a second to that?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any questions?
It's a waiver of street closure fee?
Street closure
Okay.
fee and associated costs. Motion and a second. Any questions, comments?
I would like to say that I think that I would like to see the city of Brawley get credit for that as a sponsorship, or whatever we want to call that, because it is a large amount of money that we're investing in the event. And I think we won't be buying tables to it. We'll probably be there eating the ribs, as Marjo has mentioned. But I do think I would like to see some recognition for the city on that, and I think you guys can certainly do that, and I don't think that's a problem.
You see,
I
Sam,
definitely would
pat him on the back.
love to put you on there on the next to us.
Yeah.
Very well.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
So motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And now the approval of the request for alcohol sales and consumption. I'll make the motion to approve the request for alcohol sales and consumption on a city street on Saturday, October 20th, 2018, from 10
Second.
a.m. to 6 p.m. There's a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. Congratulations and good luck. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, discussion and staff direction regarding resource management and future potential cannabis activities by Gordon Gast, Community Services Director. Backup is on pages 87 through 88.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, council members, Gordon Gase, Development Services Director. As some of you know, we've discussed this topic in the past. We've had a workshop at the Lion Center with the Planning Commission present also. And the latest direction we've gotten from the council is that we have a moratorium on this type of activity, both for medical and recreational purposes. We still get calls occasionally asking the status of that. Right now, we're just telling them this is what the status is. There's a possibility it could change in the future, but right now we're in line basically with the federal law. I think this is coming up again because there is a different type of product that's been coming out, and it's really more related to the industrial hemp, which is legal, but you still can make derivatives of oil from it, as long as it's made from that type of industrial hemp that doesn't contain a THC level above a certain amount. And the seeds are controlled by the federal and state government on the production of the plant, and then whether you process the plant is obviously it's not, you can't concentrate the THC any higher. It's claimed that it still has medicinal purposes. Obviously that's not the only chemical that's in the hemp plant. So there are other chemicals that are claimed to do pain relief and soothing and things like that. Most of them are topical type of things. The same way, coca, coca is, they make cocaine from, but you eat chocolate too, So they take the bad stuff out, and they're basically using it to make the oil from the industrial hemp, not the actual marijuana, cannabis that is above that level. So this is the reason we're bringing it back, but we still want direction on future direction for medical clinics or recreational use.
And there is based on the backup material, there is a request. There's one current request to dispense, cannabis oil that would require revisit of city ordinances to allow for the activity, right? Is that your request at this time? Just to see if there's interest?
So, Gordon and I together worked on the staff report to kind of get some direction from the council. Is there interest in looking at this being introduced to local ordinances or not? Where we left off as a city, we had joint discussions between the Planning Commission and the City Council, and at that time, it was clear that both bodies were split. And where that left us was with direction as staff to prepare ordinances that banned. So we, universally have restricted or prohibited those activities in our city limits. The council's options at this juncture are stay the course, stay with the prohibition, don't devote staff time to looking further at it. Option B would be evaluate, come up with an outreach strategy that involves both council and planning commission to re-engage in these topics. Or option 3, fast track this particular subject matter in light of what we've described, which I think we have some potential glitches that would relate to taxation of any of the products, because in order for the city to tax it, it has to be part of a ballot measure that is taken to the public, and we will not have a local election at which city items will be considered till 2020. So we thought it would be a good time to kind of check in with council as to whether or not there's a desire in looking differently at this or staying the course, and we're prepared to take council direction, whichever way is the consensus of the council.
Well, with respect to the current request, it's to dispense cannabis oil. Is there, how much time would need to be devoted to look into that, considering our current ordinances? Is there a tremendous amount of time? If it's not going to take an enormous amount of time, I just would like, just out of curiosity, to see how that could be applied.
Well, like I said, it depends on where it comes from. I think that's the first question we need to ask. Like, from what product are you making this oil from?
I see.
Is it the legal industrial hemp product, or is it the federally illegal but California legal plant that contains the THC component?
And you may recall that the discussion then would move to a question of zoning. What parts of the city would be a zoning that's designated to allow for it? Ultimately, we would move an ordinance to reflect that it's an allowed activity, and then where from a land use perspective.
Right.
And then, of course, question 3 is it something that would be taxed?
Right. So, after we find out the answer to if it's the industrial or, then it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty much allowed, But if it's not, then, yeah, it triggers actually quite a bit of time and effort to re-evaluate the ordinance, open up everything, and then decide where we are going to locate these businesses and what type. Are they only for medical? Are they recreational? And then, again, there's the tax issue that has to be put on the ballot eventually.
Right. Well, I would just, my own preference, and this isn't speaking for the rest of council, just on the surface level, just to get, additional information, I think it would just, out of curiosity and interest, to see if it is the industrial hemp or if it's the, what it is, and seeing if that can be applied or not. I think that would answer some questions, at least for me, so.
If it's derived from a federally and statewide legal substance such as hemp, is there anything the city can do to prohibit the sale of
I don't
something
think
like
so.
that? Yeah.
As long as it's made out of that product that has that doesn't go beyond that limit.
Right.
I think it's legal. I think it's, if it's over that, especially, the state doesn't really have that regulation.
Sure.
The federal government does. So, you want to get mixed up with the federal government laws, which is why we basically have the moratorium in place in the first place.
I think our city attorney wanted to make a comment. Go ahead.
No? Go ahead.
To Mr. Hamby's question, if it's industrial hemp, that's not a controlled substance, and so it'd be just like selling anything else. They're growing industrial hemp at the research station.
Right.
So I would assume that this particular, I don't know enough about CBDs to know if you can derive those from hemp or not, but I would assume that you can't to the degree that it would be effective as a medicine or topical or whatever. But
Well, it may still be, I'm not a chemist or botanist, but what I know, there's other chemicals in hemp other than THC and the marijuana, that has the,
Maybe
what some would say more the ill effects of getting you high, basically. There might be other chemicals in there that are beneficial for medicinal purposes.
Mr. Mayor, maybe just not necessarily for brevity, but I do want to say maybe pursuing that, maybe as your recommendation, maybe as council that we pursue information. Bottom line is if it's not federally prohibited, and it's obviously, whether it is or isn't, it's not state prohibited, then we just simply need to look at this, and this is an opportunity to get into more of the details as we press forward as a staff as far as location. I do notice we have a letter in here also, or a letter of request for a city manager from IVDRC. So maybe in pursuit of that, just, again, staff direction here, just getting more information.
Just surface level, getting information on what they're requesting in greater detail, and then if, we don't necessarily need to go to multiple motions, and we go from there. Or if it is federally prohibited, then we take action on that. It's a different conversation.
Well, basically because it is legal in California, and that we have a request from a citizen in our community, I think that it's our responsibility to get as much information as we can in order to provide them with an adequate response.
Perfect. All right. I think that's direction.
And I agree with that.
Fantastic. Any other comments? No? Very well. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is item 4F, discussion staff direction regarding community outreach to address any proposed changes to city ordinance for parking and storage of trailers, RVs, boats by Gordon Gaze Community Services Director. Backup materials on pages 89. Bless you.
What?
Is there, yes, please.
Yeah, this is another a continuation of another item that we just brought up a few months ago. The council's direction at that time was to offer a 90-day reprieve through the summer months until we had a little more time to look into it and give some citizens that might have been out of town a chance to chime in on this. Again, during this time, we have received a couple more complaints from various, it's various parts of town, it's all over. But lately we've had to tell them, well, right now, we're on hold on this. Depending on the council's direction, we will let you know if we're going to pursue those complaints or if there will be new allowances or restrictions that need to be abided by, and then we will let you know what direction we're going to go with.
Right. With respect to, updating our ordinances that are in place, how are we doing on that?
So we brought to council a summary table that cited all of the Muni Code references.
Right.
And there is, obviously a tension between what's on the books and what is being enforced.
Right.
I believe the commitment that was publicly made to members of the community was that the 90-day reprieve would be granted, but also that the city would undertake outreach at a time of year when there was more likely to be public input. So our hope would be to get some direction from council. Would you like us to schedule a future presentation item to the council on the topic?
Yeah, let's do that.
Or do you want a standalone meeting?
Let's do that in the future, and then I would offer 90 days, an additional 90 days, just to continue with this as we research it and provide some greater input and get greater input from the public.
So would you like that scheduled conversation to be a part of a regular business meeting or a standalone?
Do you want a
Regular
regular
business meeting, we can include the item in maybe several weeks.
How will we notify the public?
Yes.
That's
We
my
have
question.
we have some attendees here tonight that
Okay.
are closely tracking the item, and we also have contact information from individuals who attended the last public meeting where
Okay.
it was a subject matter, and we committed to sharing that info with them about a future scheduled date.
And maybe even getting the press involved and that sort of thing. We
Yeah,
can
I think
get the
that's a
message
good
out.
idea.
Yeah.
I mean, eventually, if it comes to action and the ordinance has to change, everything will be publicly noticed. But it would just be noticed on, in the newspaper and posted.
But just to get
some
public
people-
input, I think
But,
if
yeah.
we could advertise
Yeah,
that.
but what
I think would be-
there's, right now, I think we only have the people who want to change it that have been reached out to, and not
Right.
the people that usually complain, because a lot of times they're anonymous calls.
Right.
So, I think there's more people that don't have RVs than do in Brawley, and I think, you might see that there's just as much of an opposition as there is the people who are
Sure.
try allow it. So the outreach to them, otherwise it's just going to be a one-sided meeting.
I understand. I agree. And so 90 days, and then we can schedule a future meeting. And
Would council like us to propose some options for gathering additional information?
Sure.
Like surveys or
Yes.
something in the utility bill?
That would be
something-
perfect.
Yes.
Yeah,
Maybe
that would
something
be,
in
so I was thinking maybe the
Additional info
utility
gathering.
bill or
Okay.
Very
something,
well.
right?
Because
Okay.
my estimates are there's 600 to 700 of these.
Right.
Out there.
Yeah, but
At
there's,
least.
but there's.
They're scattered all over
But
the
there's
city.
over 5,000
Right.
households, so.
very well. All right, so you have direction there. Public comment, I know that there's some members of the public that came for this particular topic. If you'd like to share your comments now, please. How are you? Good evening.
Members of the council, it's a privilege to address you once again. My name is Ed Otter, and I'm a resident here in Brawley. I did a little informal study to try to see how other cities compare to Brawley in regards to this kind of particular ordinance, which would limit where you can park a RV, a trailer, a boat, whatnot. And I have a paper here that I can pass.
Certainly, if you could, please.
First off, the first thing that stood out, I looked at a number of cities. I looked at El Centro, Imperial, Calexico, Westmoreland, Calipatria. I even looked at a big city, San Diego, and I looked at where my daughter lives in Reading, what their ordinance was. Just did this online research on the page. And first off is my first finding was that all cities have some kind of ordinance in regards how long you can park on the street. You know, Brawley's pretty stingy compared to some cities. 12 hours, one city was 120, Reading was 120 hours, and even some cities would allow you to park longer if you've got a permit or something like that. Then the second thing I found was that regarding the front yard, there's a lot of variances among the cities, even just in our area. Most cities had no ordinance that posted regarding the parking of trailers in the front yard. You know, I found that now the only one that I could find that came closest to Brawley's was El Centro. Now Brawley says that you can't park a trailer, RV, boat, utility in the front yard, and then I found out front yard includes your driveway. But El Centro's code, and I cited it there, you can look it up yourself, says that you can't park in your front yard excluding the driveways. So, I'm throwing that out as a possible solution. And I think San Diego, you'd think someplace like San Diego that has so much population and so many people, they would be really stringent. But they said that you could park in the front driveway if you had no rear access or side yard, and you weren't blocking the sidewalk, which is understandable, or your vehicle or whatever it is, your trailer wasn't a heap of junk, which that's understandable. And so I find that Brawley's ordinance of all those cities was rather unique. It was the harshest. It almost kind of bordered on an HOA clause, you might say. And even my wife and I, we would go around these cities, we'll look, and we kind of jokingly say, "Oh, there's a violation," according to Brawley standards. "Oh, there's a violation," And I
We're
just
gonna have
think that
Mr. Otter do code enforcement. Code enforcement.
I think he wants a
Side gig. Side gig.
I could roll
There you
a lot
go.
of tickets.
I know. Yeah.
So, but anyhow, I just think that I hope that there's some room for this kind of consideration. I wasn't able to be here at the last meeting, but I did watch the video of the presenter, the building inspector, and a couple of things I don't buy. His point about it blocks the view of the sidewalk. I could well say that about a big pickup, even a vehicle, maybe a hedge or a fence.
Sure.
I'm a licensed driver. I know how to be cautious and courteous and respectful. Believe me, there's the last thing in the world that anybody like myself would want to do is to hit a child or something, or somebody walking the sidewalk. So you're always very cautious when you can't see around. As far as my trailer, it really doesn't take up any more space than a really full, one of those big power pickups. The other thing too is to get permission from the neighbors. That was kind of a stretch for me because if my neighbor had to come over and get my permission what color he wanted to paint his house, I don't think it would bode well. I don't think it would go well. If he wanted to paint his house orange for a second, no. I don't think I'll sign off on that. It's our property. We pay taxes. We pay the license fees for these vehicles. Those monies go to help the city of Brawley, vehicle fees and so forth. Those help with the maintenance of the city, jobs and so forth. So, and then lastly, I think, if the solution is to go park it in somebody's private lot somewhere, I just feel, and that's not going to be a solution, especially for someone who maybe doesn't have just a recreation trailer like I have, but they may be a guy who's employed, he's a carpenter, and he's got all his tools in a trailer. He's not going to go park it down the street in some yard when somebody can break in there and steal those kinds of things. They want to keep things in full view where they can keep a watch on them. And I feel the same way about my trailer. I don't want to park it somewhere because I do know of a couple of people who had their trailers broken into, and I know people do this out here in Glamis. They got them all over the place, but I just want to keep my property in view. And we use our trailer a lot. We probably go out 6, 7, maybe 8 times a year with it. So, it would be, kind of a pain to have to go somewhere
Certainly.
else. Let's see, I think there's maybe one more thing. Lastly, I just hope that the council can come to some kind of happy resolution. I know people are gonna complain about things. You know, my neighbors complain about my trees, you know, and I trim them every year, but, you know, I got a pine tree that drops needles on his roof. And
I
it's
complain
air
about
conditioning.
Sam all the time. I
Yeah,
complain about
you understand
Yeah,
fully.
I understand.
So, you know, we all try to get along.
Ditto.
And I haven't had any complaints from my neighbors. We try to be in really good stead. And if there is some kind of an irritation, we try to address it ourselves. So, thank you
Thank you,
very much.
Mr. Honor.
Thank you.
And-
Thank you.
And I think, you know, that's council's perspective as well. I think there may be some way to make this work for everybody's sake, and getting more public input, I think, is going to be very important. So, thank you again for.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate the comments. Thank you again. All right. So, next item on the agenda is discussion potential action regarding sponsorship request from Hidalgo Society's 33rd Annual 16th of September celebration on Saturday, September 15th, 2018. Backup material is on pages 90 and 91.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So, is there any presentation on this, or City Manager, would you like to add?
This item was added at the request of the Hidalgo Society, and it is an annual item that comes forward. In the past, the council has indicated that tickets would be purchased based on individual availability, and that's the path that the city's gone. If your schedules permit it, the city moves forward with the acquisition of tickets.
Question.
Yes.
Are they planning to close the streets for this
Yes.
event?
As I understand, there is a future action item that will be coming to the council at the next meeting. I just learned of it actually this morning. So I
Okay.
don't have the written request. I don't know if it's tied to this particular event or a different one.
Okay.
If
Probably
it's,
to a separate one,
Yeah.
because it's
the
not,
date won't work.
this is like.
This is
uh,
next, this is coming soon.
Yeah, this is
Next
coming,
weekend.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not.
This is inside the hall, George.
Yeah, this is inside, this is what they've done
Yeah.
inside the hall. This is not
Uh-huh.
the
The other one is
exterior
Dia
event.
de la Raza.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
a separate event,
different-
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So this is-
I was just concerned that this has no requirement there
No.
for closure,
It's
for
inside.
sale of alcohol.
This is
under-
simply
or anything like that,
extending an
so-
invite to
Uh-huh.
the council and asking if the city wishes to
Hey, that's fine.
be a sponsor.
I
Okay.
think we can maybe do individual tickets if we're interested.
Whoever's going to
That
be there,
would-
right.
Yeah.
I think that's the
Just
way
let
we
me-
I
usually
think that
go.
would be easiest.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
I think so.
All right.
I think I did get a phone call, and possibly Sam did too, that, that other request will be
Right.
coming to
Coming
us. So
soon.
I
Okay.
think
So
there
we
was
will
some
see that.
confusion on the dates.
Okay.
Okay.
So just individual tickets as we've done in the past. All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda is 4H, discussion potential action regarding professional services agreement with Bechtel Wastewater Engineers for an amount not to exceed $92,600 for the wastewater treatment plant, biosolids Class A operational plan, local limits and pretreatment program support services. Backup materials on pages 92 to 124. And this is going to be presented by Guillermo. Yes.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This item before you is to enter into an agreement with Bechtel Wastewater Engineers, pretty much for pretreatment services, including the biosolids Class A operational plan that is produced on the greenhouse of the wastewater treatment plant, and also services to review and possible revise the local limits for discharges of our significant industrial users, and also to provide pretreatment program support services to address the permits and all the regulation regarding the two significant industrial users. This agreement is proposed to be in the amount of $92,600, and just for when we enter into agreements with consultants, it's pretty much based on the expertise and the quality of the services, but just for purposes of to compare, we got a second quote that was pretty much pretty close to the same amount. And staff is proposing to enter into an agreement with Dave Bechtel and wastewater engineers based on almost 10 years of experience that he has been providing services to the city. He designed the wastewater treatment plan, and he prepared the local limits and review the two significant industrial users permits. And he has a lot of history and experience with the city, so that's the reason that we would like to continue getting services from him.
Okay. All right, is there any questions from council on this particular topic?
Well, that was my only question, was regarding the other proposal that was received, so thank you so much for the explanation on why you selected Becky.
And this is just to further develop the Class A biosolids plan that we have in place as well, right? So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, the wastewater treatment plant has been producing Class A biosolids since 2012, since it started operation. But there's, regulation between the health department and the water control board that needs to be addressed with the development of this operational plan to assure the continuous productivity of this type of biosolids.
Very well. Okay.
So are these just accumulating currently until everything can be worked out?
No, it's been disposed.
They're being disposed. They're accumulating them for a while, and then
Tested and obtain result that is still Class 2A, but we have to dispose it because it's not approved by the health department, so we cannot dispose or use it for land application until it's approved by the health department.
Yeah. And so it's nearly there, but probably in any other state it would be fine, But yeah, go ahead.
In your experience with Bachtel, with this type of a project, is there likely to be change orders and cost overruns, or does it seem like the 92,000 will be a not to exceed number?
I would say not to exceed. However, the regulators are the last one, that they can request additional studies. Hopefully, it's not the case, but health department can request something else. It's not likely to happen, but could be. But it will be with any other consultant. It's just a requirement, and if they feel that they need additional testing or additional information, they can request it from this consultant or any other.
Okay.
I just wanted to clarify, and on this, it says the cost of the Project 3 as needed services will be negotiated on a task-by-task basis. Can you explain that a little bit further?
Yes, even if sometimes a permit for an industrial user, it is defined, but it's like some other development that a commercial development to make it a little bit easier to understand. If there's a business that they want to be installed in the city and they provide plans, and a consultant provide an estimate, but let's say that the developer or the engineer takes like 3 or 4 times to submit the same plans, and the consultant review it, and he does not complete the plans and submit it again. So the more revisions, of course, the consultant is incurring more hours. So that's probably the reason that to review a permit, if the user does not submit the proper information in a few reviews, so it's incurring in additional time from the consultant. So it's pretty much a consideration that something reasonable, but sometimes it exceeds the review considered by a consultant and incurs in additional time, like time and material or another proposal. But that will happen with any other consultant.
So, and that would come back to us for approval, or how?
Yes, if it is needed, if it's something that is, significant. But the experience that we have with this consultant is that he provides more services at no cost because he has a lot of history on our system. And sometimes, it's difficult to define a task in a change order. It's just pretty much probably a call and say, hey, I have this information, can you help me out with this? And he will do it at no charge or a minimum charge.
If I may clarify the dollar amounts, just because I think it would be helpful for the discussion. If you look at the first task, which is attachment A, That fee is $49,200 for that particular set of deliverables. And then there's a separate attachment that is referenced as Attachment B, and that has an amount of $43,400. The on-call related needs is a third area, and that is the one for which, if you look at the rate schedule, let me just see, I thought I had a page with the rate schedule noted.
106?
106.
106, that those rates would apply. I did field some questions before today's council meeting to inquire. What we want to be sure and disclose is that we're not entering into piecemeal contracts that are in excess of the city manager's authority. So the goal here is to share with you there are 3 specific areas where there's a scope of work. For 2 of them, they are finite deliverables. For the third, it's basically on-call services as they relate to this subject matter. So we could, if council isn't comfortable with just the hourly rate being applied when needed, we could come back with a specific dollar amount, call it a not to exceed, and if anything comes back to the, is in excess of that amount, come back to the council for another authorization.
I think that would complicate matters for us and you know, and for
Especially if
city
it's
staff and
minor.
everybody else, you know, so.
Especially unless it's something that you feel is major enough where we need to see it, then I think we want you to come back.
That's what we
Otherwise,
have
I think we
staff
would
for,
want
yeah.
the staff to make that decision, especially if it's a minor thing, takes a couple of hours. I mean, that's probably fine, I mean, as
Yeah.
far as that goes. I think the issue was that someone was saying, well, they'll come back with other costs or a large amount of other costs, but I think you've got some pretty much finite costs in here. Then you've got a little bit of stuff that might go over that, but it's not really major in any
Limited.
way. so.
Right, so just as in layman's terms, the biosolids plan, we've had it on the to-do list for several years,
Yes.
and we have not been able to push it through just because of workload. So
Yeah,
this is
okay.
gonna take an important work
Step,
product to the finish line,
Right.
which will help us realize the potential of our plant and savings associated with proper disposal.
Right, there you go.
And then the other area will ultimately benefit both of our industrial dischargers in that it's taking a look at our local limits. Remember, our prior local limits were all based on the prior operator's data. And so those thresholds that were set were based on a very, very large operator.
Sure.
What this updated local limit study will do is take another look based on the performance of our plant to date
Sure.
with 2 industrial dischargers, how it's performed and how the plant's capacity could serve the purposes of those industrial users, public interest, and any future industrial development. So it's
Improve
actually
things for
gonna be a
everybody, yeah.
vintage.
certainly.
Okay,
Well,
so
moving
anything
right
with, like, out of the ordinary, then you would bring back to us. Otherwise, it would probably be considered
An
pretty minimal.
hourly for whatever those additional needs are.
Yes.
Any further questions from council?
Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve the item?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, next is departmental reports. We'll start with 5A, Summer 2018 Parks and Recreation Program Statistics, prepared by Marjo Mello, Interim Parks and Recreation Director.
I think Marjorie has
Rib
too many
eater and,
reports. I think
you know.
Marjorie
Yes.
has too many reports.
I wanted to bring up Linda because
Linda,
Linda is what
come on
makes
up.
the recreation happen. And all the numbers that you see on this particular report, where we have 199 people who can swim now who couldn't probably swim before.
It's awesome.
Which is very much safer.
Yep.
Great.
The summer day camp program with, as Sam has mentioned, the noise level is exciting. Okay, she's responsible for all of
Organized
this.
For the noise, there you go.
Yes, she's
You're
responsible for the
responsible for the
noise.
noise.
It
Right.
is pretty
Organized
crazy in
chaos.
there when you walk.
Yes.
It is
There you
pretty
go.
crazy.
And
Can't get-
the open gym, which actually parents are getting a really good bargain because their kids can come in from 8 to 10 under, what's it called?
Open gym.
I'm sorry, open gym, not open gym, the other one.
Oh, paint, read, and play.
Paint, read, and play.
play.
Thank you. They get all mixed up. That's why she's here. And then they can stay for the really cool program, and then they have more stuff in the afternoon from 3 to 5. So we have kids who are there 8 to 5 every day. And for 5 weeks? 5 weeks. Got the weeks. And it's really cool because the kids are engaged. And this year I actually got to go for my second time to the talent show. And oh my gosh, was I entertained. It is fascinating,
Was
and
real
it had a
nice.
50s theme, and I recognized all the music. It was really cool. And it comes from Linda's coordination for doing all of that. All the other things that we did, we had over 500 people come to watch the dive-in movie.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people. A lot of hot dogs, a lot of work, and our main hot dog cooker's back here.
Everything went.
And everything
Down to
went
the last
really
hot dog.
well. Things were donated, and it was incredible. So I just want to brag about the staff who does that. Next time we do a parks thing, we're going to bring the other person up so I can brag about him, because he makes that part go. But anyway, I just want to really thank Linda for the incredible job she does. You can see the statistics. Even the 20 to 30 teenagers that we have in the teen center every day, they work with Mark. We're open 5 to 9. We're really excited because the Boys and Girls Program should enhance what we're already doing, and even we can help, enhance their program also, so we can serve better. So all the collaboration that she does, all the groups that she works with, hiring all the teenagers who need summer jobs and who come in and work is absolutely incredible, and Linda is the person who's been doing that. So I want to brag on Linda.
Excellent.
All right, Linda.
Great job.
So that's my summer
list.
program. Thank you.
All right.
I don't think she knew I was going to do that.
Oh, well.
And she's going to get me next week. Okay.
Need a spotlight for that kind of stuff.
Yes, really. And if they weren't working, I would have brought some people over from the library. The one big item that Marjo got really excited about this year was 80, which you can see in huge numbers on the report. Even people in the back can read it. Backpacks.
Refers to herself in third person now.
Yes.
It's just like,
Marjo's
Yes,
really
yeah,
excited
Marjo,
about this.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm wearing my literary hat now. Okay. But anyway, the 80 backpacks that the Elks got a grant for,
Yeah.
$50 for the backpack and all the stuff inside. That is humongous. And they got an extra grant this year because it's the 150th anniversary of the Elks national organization. Previously, they've gotten $2,500 for a scholarship. And we're just absolutely ecstatic that they do that, because I think the parents are more excited about that than the kids. The kids are very proud, but I think the parents are happy because that's that much less that they have to do. This is also the first year that we had an adult reading program. We had 61 people read books, and local businesses were very generous with gift cards and other items for the adults, and everybody who read a book would put a little slip in a jar, and they'd pull them out and get their prizes. And I just want to let you know, some of the prizes were from places that serve adult beverages, and including Pentagonal Brewery, over here where we get the really good margarita
Inferno.
pizza. Yeah,
Inferno.
yes, Inferno. All kinds of other places, and they were coffee and other things, of course. I gave a whole bunch of gift cards for coffee that I'd gotten. So anyway, the adults had as much fun this year. Also, you'll all remember spending time in the library earlier this year at our strategic planning session. And one of the things was more generalized multi-generational programming. So this summer we also incorporated that, which there's a little bit of information. We had 99 people participate over the different programs that we had, but I think we're going to keep trying it again because it was a really good start. So I attended the folklorico dancing and was charmed. I needed to go to the iPad and other tablet music apps, but I didn't get to that one. I think we may do that one again in the fall. The parents were thrilled with the Imperial County Sheriff's Department Operation Child ID because they take their fingerprints, they have a little DVD of the child, those kinds of things. And the parents take them. The sheriffs don't keep any of that personal information. And the origami classes were very popular. So I just want to say that the library had an absolutely good time. The staff really enjoys doing this. Yes, they all need naps after the last week, but they really have a good time doing this. They enjoy everybody.
Fantastic.
So-
Thank you.
You're
Thank you for the
welcome.
update. All right. Monthly staff report is provided for your enjoyment, page 131. Is there anything you'd like to add there?
Honorable Mayor, yes, I would. Shirley
right.
Benias, Personnel and Risk Management. We do have an accounting assistant in background. Just want to give you a little update. This has been going on for a little bit. I know you probably haven't seen a report since July 1st. We had a candidate that withdrew from backgrounds, so we're on our second candidate in backgrounds. Please note, there's no dispatchers on this. We don't need any more dispatchers, so we're very excited about that. Also, please note that these are the staffing numbers for 17-18. When we have an adopted budget, they will change if council does change them.
Right. Thank you.
Okay?
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Next is audit budget update presented by Rosa Ramirez, our finance director.
Good evening, Mayor Nava, members of the council, Rosa Ramirez, Finance Director. As council knows, the city is late on adopting the budget and on having the audit financial statements prepared. And there was multiple factors due to that. I mean, shortness in staff, changes in leadership within the finance department. Moving forward, on August 16th, there was a meeting held with the city's audit firm, BTD. Attendants were the city's main auditor, Dennis Lee, Bill White, BTD's partner, city manager, city treasurer, and finance department staff. At that meeting, BTD informed the city that the audit process was being slowed down until certain pending items had been cleared up. Once that was accomplished, BTD would continue fieldwork and the audit process would continue. As of today, those pending items have been cleared and submitted to BTD. The audit process is expected to continue moving forward with a tentative fieldwork date later this week. Some of the differences in the financial statements identified by BTD have slowed down the audit. Financial statements are prepared by a separate consultant, so that adds up to the response time.
Sure.
So it's between city staff, the consultant preparing financial statements, and BTD, and back and forth. New auditors always, new eyes, looking at the numbers and questioning. The first year is always the most intense in audit work. At the same meeting, findings have been identified and discussed on a very preliminary basis. Once the audit is complete, audited financial statements will be presented to the City Council by BTD. And completion of the city's audited financials remains one of the Finance Department's top priorities at this time.
Okay. So do we have an anticipated time of when we could expect that presentation?
I wish I had a definite date.
But just a more or less, I mean, it
We
just-
were pushing till end of August and maybe have the financials presented to you at this meeting. However, that did not happen.
Right, there was a delay in that,
We're
certainly.
pushing mid-September.
Okay.
So anything else? Tony's also here. Anything you need to add? Tony?
Yeah, so like the 18th, maybe our next council meeting, it would be presented then?
We're hoping. I
Okay.
don't have a date in writing
But it
or.
may- would it be safe to say that maybe by the first week of, or the first meeting of October, we would have something before us? That would give about a month at this time, yeah?
Should happen.
Okay.
We could
Very well.
definitely try for that date.
All right.
And if not, we will keep council abreast of what's going on.
All right, thank you. Thank you for the update.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next item is for your information. It's located on pages 132 and 133. It's the record of building permits, so if you'd like to see that, please
There's a bunch of
take a
them.
review. There's certainly several, so.
A lot of new houses.
Yeah. Very cool. All right. Next item is city council member reports. I'm going to keep my report short. I'll provide an update at our next meeting, so nothing to report at this time, but we'll go on to Councilmember Hamby.
Thank you, Mayor. I attended a few events during our dark month. Right after our last council meeting, I got to go to the Kids Talent Show at the Lions Center, and that was pretty raucous, good time there. I didn't stay for the whole thing, but I got my ears full, so
Sure.
it was good. I got to go to the Coffee with a Cop event at Brownie's Diner, put on by the Area Agency on Aging. That was a nice event, and it was nice to see different community members and policemen there. I attended a film commission meeting, which was sort of a special emergency meeting, and I attended the Brownfield Initiative Steering Committee meeting on August 22nd, just discussing some opportunities for financial help for people who are buying, or business owners who are buying buildings or significantly renovating buildings in the downtown specific area. And I was contacted by a couple of different community members regarding an ordinance having to do with poultry, chickens specifically, in backyards. Probably a few other people were contacted as well, and expressing a desire to maybe see a change in the ordinance so that interested parties could have chickens in their backyards for egg production for personal use. So my recommendation to them was to band together and come up with some reasonable changes to the ordinance that they could bring before the council in a public meeting and see if there was an appetite for a change. I had the opportunity to go to Hinojosa Park a few nights ago and talk with some of the guys there that like to use the handball courts. They expressed appreciation for the improvements that have been made at Hinojosa Park, and look forward to continuing improvements in parks throughout the city. And that's it for my report.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll hear from Councilmember Norma Kestner-Howdy.
I was actually out of the area for quite a bit of the time in August due to personal reasons, so I don't have anything to report at this time.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Couchman.
Okay. I attended the Kids Talent Show at the Lions Center. My granddaughter was a participant, and so I was there for the entire event. It was a nice event, and they did the 50s music. And while I'm very, very young and was a baby then, I do relate somewhat to that music. And I went to the Boys and Girls Club. We did a welcome back to school thing over there the other day, and the chief of police was there. And we had a few community members there, and the kids were very excited about getting back to school and coming back to the Boys and Girls Club, and I thought that was really interesting, and we had a good time over there, so that was great. I went to Coffee with a Cop, as Mr. Hamby has mentioned. I also attended the Air Pollution Control District meeting, and there are going to be some new regulations primarily affecting the city of Calexico as regards burning in fireplaces in homes and also fire pits outside, although not too much regulation on outside fire pits, but a person purchasing or building a home that has a fireplace, there may be some new restrictions put into place. And so we're going to have to take a look at that. It doesn't affect Brawley as much, and a lot of the newer things have those things already done with them, but older homes may be impacted by these ordinances or these state regulations and local regulations that are being developed. It's primarily Calexico because they have the problem with most of the particle matter, the PM 2.5, the PM 10s, and then the smoke from those types of fires. And it also is a problem there because of the city of Mexicali. And so we had a large discussion on that. They're taking some regulations back to the county board. That may already have been done, or it's going to be done here shortly. And but you may see some impact from that. Realtors, we did ask them to get involved with some realtors locally. The Realtors Association notified them about some of their requirements. So when they go to sell a home, they can be aware of that and tell people what needs to be done, either from the seller or the buyer would have to address that with fireplaces or wood-burning stoves. We don't see too much of that down here, but there are some fireplaces and wood-burning stoves. Okay. Jim Hanks' wife funeral, I attended that, the funeral for his wife, IID director and local resident. And then also attended the swearing-in of Officer Isaac Romo and the 2 dispatchers that we swore in the other day. I was available to attend that also here. And that's it.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Couchman. Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Horton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Also, I'll try to be brief. And I did attend the, of course, Coffee with a Cop. It was a wonderful event as always, and thank you, Chief, for
Now they have
having-
a pastry chef. that
It's-
they can-
yeah, I saw that.
Pastry
yeah.
chef.
There was an
I'm gonna go over to the police
enormous-
department and have
yeah.
breakfast
Keep that
there every
in-house
morning.
now.
I'll hold on those, maybe
was a tac-
references
it was
or
a tactical
jokes.
move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was also wonderful. I also like to kind of reintroduce myself as a reserve deputy also to our troops there. So it was a great chance to kind of do that. I did not attend the latest Airport Advisory Committee because I was out of town, but prior to that, I did, and I have since gotten with, and I know I've reported this as we've moved along intermittently with our different meetings. An unsolicited proposal has been submitted to the city manager, and that was kind of my advice to that private party, to perhaps maybe begin that discussion of what that future and potential looks like. So I know I've kind of reported that out, and Profiline Service was gracious enough to continue on kind of a, with honoring their existing contract, but maybe taking a look at the future. That's a conversation that can come back in the future. There's obviously more discussions to be had, but I'll be certainly happy to report how that progresses along as I maybe meet with the city manager. We're maybe looking at a potential meeting there that might come together. Also, there was a ribbon cutting at the chamber. I know I attended with the mayor, and I don't know if others attended after, but also Councilmember Castner Howdergy. We did cross paths. Yeah, it was early in August, I think, but a ribbon cutting there. CPR training at the Ciudad Plaza. I'm not certain if it's manned on a day-to-day basis. It may be by appointment only, but certainly you can look them up through our chamber. It's, again, a great resource, obviously, for businesses and individuals that need that training. If I can recall, there's also pet CPR, which I wasn't very up on, so I learned a little bit about that. Didn't realize that was a thing.
It is a
to get
thing.
there right, but
It is, they do.
yeah, I thought that was interesting,
Police and fire
and
pet.
they had the models for that, yeah, on the ground.
Santa?
So I think we took a picture with one. It looked
Yeah.
pretty real, Yeah. Well, it was just a dog, so yeah, it was interesting. A real ugly person. Yeah. That's right.
Pet hamster? Pet hamster? There you go.
Chickens.
Yeah.
Chickens.
Mr. Mayor and the public, just on a personal note, I did attend with my family. It was really neat. My father-in-law, who's in his 80s, we went back to Florida for my son's Air Force F-22 Raptor graduation. So it was a tremendous honor, very cool thing to go see because it's not something I've attended before. So we're obviously very proud of that. And celebrate anyone actually of our kids when they leave our town, born and raised here, educated here. They go off and do cool things. They're back here and then eventually be on their way to Alaska. So that was a neat personal note there. And last but not least, I know I'll be attending with many of my fellow council members the annual League of Cities annual conference, which will start next week in Long Beach. And lots of learning, networking, all the good opportunities there. So look forward to attending. That's it,
Fantastic.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And again, I attended multiple events, tried to catch up on some personal business during the month of August. And, so thank you all very much. We'll move on to the city manager's report.
With reference to item A listed as an update on the Travel Inn located at 300 West Main Street and the request for extended placement of a temporary shade structure, city staff and I were in contact with the property owner earlier today, and we have been advised that the motel operator has withdrawn their request for that temporary shade until further notice.
Very well.
So they do expect that they'll be able to accommodate some of the needs within the enclosed portions of the property and no longer are pursuing the shade structure.
All right.
I do have a brief PowerPoint of before and after photos
Okay.
on downtown properties I thought you might be interested in, and I'll just
Keep it
go
brief.
really quick.
Cool.
This is
Super brief.
let's see.
Oh, that looks.
It's really nice there, I like that.
Looks clean. That's very clean.
Very clean.
Click on that.
Right there. There, downtown property, city council. Right there.
All right.
As council knows, over the last 90 days or so, we have been heavily focused on Main Street properties and proactive contact with property owners. And so we're very excited to report out on some of those results. What you see here is a property that is on the south side of Maine and owned locally. And through proactive communication with the owners and a great deal of cooperation, we were able to achieve some results that we're quite proud to share with you here today. So you'll see the difference in between these two is taking the glass portions of the frontage, and since the property is not prepared to be occupied at this time, basically using plywood and muting the entire frontage. And then we also had some issues at the upper portion of the property where pigeons were roosting. And so some measures have been taken to deter pigeons from sitting in that area, and the property owners were gracious enough to clean the sidewalk and ensure that proper efforts were undertaken to maintain their property. The next series of pictures are factory to you. This is at 525 Main Street when we were down.
Clearance sale apparently there.
When we were down at a business opening on Main Street, we had the opportunity to talk with a maintenance worker who happened to be on premises, and thus began some proactive communication with the Factory to You owner, who's out of the Los Angeles area. Fayez Paredes owns this property in addition to many, many corporately owned properties. So you'll see this is what the property looked like before. And based on that proactive contact, followed by a letter that really outlined these are the areas we're asking for your agreement to address, we were able to see a refresh of that building face, along with repair of the walkway and lighting features.
Little paint and maintenance goes a long way, huh?
Goes a long way. And then our third property is, I wish I would have mentioned to the property owner who was here a little bit earlier today. We had some broken glass, and our vacant properties ordinance requires that vacant areas be either boarded up or repaired. And so the property owner was willing to board up and mute out that frontage. And so that's the look of it at this point. And then this is another very exciting, this is the Ellis property that has sat dormant for many, many years. It recently changed hands. We were addressing our formal correspondence to the prior owner. You can kind of see a horizontal crack along the middle arch, and we were very concerned that the traveling public was at risk. We were able to work with the seller and the buyer to achieve a nice refresh and repair job to the frontage, and at this time that property is being marketed to be leased. You may notice in the rear of that building there is what I would call a non-conforming, very unlikely to be permitted structure. That feature will be demolished in the not-so-distant future, and the property owner, it's kind of I would say it most resembles a metal shed. But right. And the length of the shed will actually, when it's removed, they're going to have some rear parking.
Awesome.
That they're very excited to be able to provide to future tenants along the back alley.
So they eliminated that center arch altogether then?
They did, and I'm not sure the trade-offs were enormous. He kind of weighed the pluses and minuses of bringing it back. It was easier to repair with the absence of.
Yeah.
But we did lose an arch.
We lost an arch.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. That top one's gone.
The middle one is.
Oh, well.
And just this morning, I saw that the property was in the process of being painted in that final area. So I don't think this picture reflects its exact current circumstance. Okay, I'm sorry. These are this particular property is one I want to make you aware of is pending. I'm in the process of working with the owners. The owner and the business operator is the same party, and I'm very hopeful that we may have the chance to see an enhancement to the frontage, working cooperatively with the property owner. And then last but not least, I do want to share with you 540 Main Street. This is the property right next to the A-Plus Furniture Shop. It is owned by a party that has acquired several downtown properties. There are plans for this site to be occupied in 2019. We are expecting that facade improvements will be achieved that are very attractive. I've seen the renderings, very much looking forward to it before the end of the calendar year and possibly as early as cattle call. So I think this will be a nice kind of uplifting presentation of a facade in the downtown, and we're very, very hopeful for the future.
Great job with staff and working with the public and business owners, so good job on that, and please thank everyone involved. Very, very good job, nice improvements. Very, very nice improvements, I'd like to see that, thank you. Is there anything else that you'd like to add for tonight?
Do you want to talk about chickens?
All right, city clerk's report, thank you again.
Okay.
City clerk? All right, thank you. City attorney report?
Oh, we have closed session.
Yep. We have closed session, all right. So city council, I would like to immediately go into closed session so we can wrap it up.
Okay.
But thank you all very much for your attendance and participation tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.